I want to welcome you guys back to another episode of Pistons Talk Podcast presented by FanDuel. I am joined by a very special guest, Sean Murphy from Half Court, NBA credential media member. Sean, what is going on, my guy?
Anthony, what's going on, man? Happy postseason. It's great to see you. Looking good in that hat over there, looking super fly. And yeah, man, it's good to be here. Good to talk some basketball. It's been a while.
I had to look January.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I know there was a lot going on, for both of us over the last couple of months. I know you've been expanding the portfolio guest wise, but I'm just glad to remember I'm just glad you remember I still exist. No, I'm just kidding. It's just good to be here.
Yeah. I feel like sometimes we're in competition for guests.
It's so funny because I reached out. I was talking to Natalie Kerwin over time about coming on. I legitimately texted her of oh yeah, that's right, I should have her on. And legitimately 5 minutes later, I go on. I see Natalie Kerwin coming on Pistons Talk Podcast. I had to be like, I promise it's not because of that. I'm sorry to bombard you.
Oh, no, it's all good. I feel like everyone wants to have obviously a sideline reporter on their podcast as it does get closer to the playoffs. I'm pretty sure I saw her on, I think she was with Koo too as well. I mean, we're all trying to get as
Natalie's
much.
the GOAT.
Yeah, we're shout out to her. We're all trying to just talk to different people. I talked to an Orlando Magic podcaster, man. I felt really good after talking to him personally. He's scared of our defense like crazy. It's yeah, I don't know, man. I'm just expecting the worst. Game one, and it was I don't know.
Yeah, it's such an interesting series because matchup wise, I do think Orlando's probably one of the teams that gives Detroit the most problems when you just talk about the physicality and the duality of the Magic is they have moments like game one where it's oh, this team looks scary. And then
Mhm.
they have then they go on a 30-3 run on the opposite on the three side of that run against Detroit in game two. And it's well, what do we even make of you?
Right, right. I mean, I definitely want to kind of get into the last game because I feel like there was a lot that we could talk about. It's actually one of the first topics I want us to kind of get into. Just kind of your overall reactions after. I'm sure you were down there watching the game. Apparently, people are yelling at me that ESPN kind of muted the crowd noise because I was that Assar dunk was kind of quiet. But outside of that, are people mad at me comparing the Palace to LCA? What did you think of this kind of game two and your reactions with it?
Yeah, I will say, real quick, ESPN is doing a bizarre, and this isn't just in Detroit. I think this is just a production choice across the board where they're suppressing crowd noise, which why? That's one of the best parts of the playoffs and of a basketball game is the reaction of the crowd. So yeah, I will say that Assar moment was insane how loud that got and how hype it got, even though I know there were some visibly empty seats when watching the game from home, that arena was as loud as I've ever heard it. So the people more than made up for it. To me, it's I think the reactions to game one, obviously everyone, was nervous coming off of how Detroit played and, really just the way that Orlando just kind of dominated just about every area the Pistons have, kind of made their worth on this season. We you remember we did a stream together, an impromptu stream with our guy Brandon Dent, and before I left, you were asked what are the three keys to game one, and I said weather the nerves. They came out looking like deers in the headlights. I
Mhm.
said Jalen Duren has to step up. He had 4 shots, and then I said the Pistons have to force turnovers and win the turnover battle. They didn't do either of those things, and so it was kind of a recipe for disaster. But game two, obviously the first quarter they came out, playing pretty well. The Magic then kept it close, and it was just that first half. It was just this still doesn't look great,
Mhm.
and then something just changed after after halftime, and we found out after the game that JB had some pointed words in like in halftime, and he wouldn't exactly reveal what those were, during the press conferences. But something that both Tobias and Isaiah said, in their press conferences after was, like there was a sentiment of no more my bads, no, like no more like whoops, like we have to play to our standard. And so I think there was just like a lot of, like even guys like not necessarily, like not focusing, but like maybe focusing so much on not wanting to screw up that it's
Mhm.
forcing them to screw up even more.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, we saw them come out and have as good of a quarter defensively as we've seen them have all season. So, like that third quarter was the first time this playoffs it really felt like we saw the Pistons play the way that they're supposed to. Now, one thing I'm keeping an eye on, I'm not sure like how much you've been like looking at like the stats and like I like don't want to react too much to that stuff, but the Pistons currently only have two players averaging double digit points. Those are Cade and Tobias. Everyone else is currently like next best there is like you have a couple guys who are at 9.5. So the scoring concerns are real. Definitely things that we've talked about this, about with this team before, about the weaknesses that they have. But I mean, I think a lot of the reactions after game one were probably a little too extreme. And I think game two showed that.
Yeah, I felt like game 1, having a week off did not do them any favors. The
No.
Magic, obviously, they were playing tournament, they had more games, they're probably a little bit more just fresh in terms of, like, this NBA game speed. I know JB kinda talked about that before the season ended of, like, you can't replicate an NBA game.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do our best in practice, but the one thing in game 2, especially in the first quarter where I was nervous, was 8 turnovers to start
Yep.
off the first quarter. I was like, okay. And then 7 offensive rebounds by Orlando, which I don't know what it is about this team because I feel like they're a pretty good rebounding team for the most part, but they'll have lulls in quarters where everyone is just kind of standing around. And I don't know if that's by design because they want to have those transition and the running opportunities. But I
Mm-hmm.
mean, like if Jalen Duren is busy with Wendell Carter, I mean, you have like 4 other Pistons just kind of looking up and seeing who's going to grab it, and then Orlando's just crashing the glass hard. Like I felt like if they didn't have those 8 turnovers and didn't give Orlando 7 extra possessions, like the game probably would have been over a lot sooner.
Yeah, this is really kind of where the Jalen Duren conversation begins because Tobias has been out rebounding Jalen Duren this postseason thus far. He's been their best
Mhm.
rebounder. And Duren obviously has been struggling with both what they've been doing with him schematically, where they're just clearly packing the paint whenever
Yep.
he, like whenever he has an opportunity to try and take it to the basket, he's getting swarmed with double teams. On top of that, we just have to acknowledge Wendell Carter Jr. Has shut him down a lot of points defensively, and I think just thus far through like the first two games has outplayed Jalen Duren in this series. I saw I feel bad because I don't know the name of the creator, but like there was like a short form creator who did like a really good video kind of showing all like the schematic adjustments that Detroit did where they had Duren slipping on screens a lot earlier in pick and rolls, like rolling to the basket and getting them like easier looks. And I think part of you saw that in that third quarter when
Mhm.
the league started to balloon. But like to me, it's not even really like it's not really just the scoring as far as like what they're missing for Duren's output. It's like you said, there's just a lot of moments where like he in particular, it feels like he's just there's rebounds he could just be going up and grabbing with his, like with his physicality, with his athleticism. It's like, dude, if you go and make an effort to get that rebound right now, I don't know who else is beating you to it. Just
Yeah.
go get it. And there are just moments like that. And like even like the crowd, like you just hear him go, like, come on, get the rebound. And it's like I imagine some of it is like the psychology things and like kind of the nerves that come with postseason basketball. Some of it might just be, just like trying to let the game come to him. And it's just like the realization of, hey man, this is the playoffs. Like guys are going to be, going for rebounds that much harder. They're going to be diving for loose balls that much more often. So, I think he in particular, but a lot of guys in this group need to realize like the intensity's up now.
Yeah. 100%, man. It's just kind of weird. Like, and I'm glad that you pointed out that Tobias and Kate are the only two that are actually like being these scorers. Um, and I think that was like always a conversation this year is like who's going to be that secondary scorer come playoff time because obviously like Duren did take a step in scoring, but he hasn't really shown up in the scoring department so far. No, him
Yep.
and Tobias and Cade obviously. I wasn't really too worried about. I'm not expecting Tobias to like average 20 in the playoffs, but if he can give you a good 14 to 16, you're probably happy with that. And
Hmm.
Cade looks like he's, each game he's getting in better and better condition after, suffering that pneumothorax and coming back from it. But
He looks awesome.
yeah, he does, man. Especially like game one in the fourth quarter. Like if we actually played any sort of defense, I honestly thought Cade was just going to take it over and we were going to get the lead back.
I mean, the start to that, like the third quarter, where again Detroit outscored Orlando. I think it ended up being 38-16 was what the score was in that third quarter. He came out and essentially like started that like 30-3 run by himself, like the first like 10 points. He just
Yeah.
came out like the first 2 minutes of the third. It's jaw dropping how well he's been playing, especially like off of what happened to him at the end of the season. And it's like that dribble fake move he had on Paulo driving to the basket. It's like that step back mid range he had on Wendell Carter, kind of like in the mid range too. It's just he is deep in his bag of tricks. And even though like the 3-point shooting hasn't necessarily been there yet, I think some of that is because even the looks he's getting are like hard earned looks. But like the efficiency everywhere else is still there. His effective field goal percentage is almost 60%.
Yeah, I mean he looks really good up there. I still kind of want to like focus on this series and kind of put you on the spot. I want to know what you think. Like, how many games do you think the series is going to go? I personally still think it's going to be a 6-game series, but I'd love to hear what you think.
I think it's going to be 6 games. I wouldn't be shocked if it's 7 games, just because, like again, we've been seeing like the Pistons kind of have to, get things into gear, even though that second half in game 2 was, as dominant as we've seen Detroit be.
Mhm.
That's still not necessarily a guarantee that that's how things are going to go. I'm just very curious to see kind of how they weather the first half in Orlando. Now, there's a part of me that wonders if because this team's just weird this way, that they might just play better
Yeah.
When they're in Orlando, because like this team was so much better last postseason when they played at the Garden.
Oh yeah.
And now don't get me wrong, sorry Orlando, but your arena isn't exactly the Madison Square Garden. So there's not the hype that comes with that. But I do think this group does relish the ability to get a win on the road. Plus, quite frankly, I think there's something to be said about the fact that there isn't the psychological element that there was the first 2 games of like, hey, no pressure, but it's still been 18 years since you won a home game in the playoffs. If you could get that done, that'd be great. Like that's not a thing on the road anymore for this team. So I imagine that if anything, that might charge them to play better. And I mean, heck, that's kind of what we saw with Orlando to start the series too. So it wouldn't entirely surprise me.
Yeah, I think what you said about them playing on the road, because I remember like they could not win a home game last year at all. And I think a lot of us were like, yeah, let's kind of like, get the monkey off our back, like finally win a home playoff game. Um, it wouldn't surprise me though if they were able to go in tomorrow and win the game. It just wouldn't. And from an Orlando perspective, it seemed like when they lost the game during the regular season, Sean, they would just go on these lulls where they're losing like 6 straight in a
Yep.
row. And like you got me there. Um, and also I saw a Raptors fan kind of like comment under a post. It wasn't my post, but I had saw it, and he's just like, yeah, he's like, when we dropped 30 straight points on Orlando, they didn't make adjustments either. Like they called timeouts, but there was never really any type of adjustment period. And I don't even really felt like we played our best game in game 2 and still found a way to win.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, they only scored 98 points and still won by 15. You know, like it's
Yeah,
like with all those turnovers, with everything, it's like that first half, the Pistons, like, probably didn't even deserve to be tied at the half the way that they're playing at certain points there. So yeah, it's interesting because it's really kind of about seeing them chain together like much more consistent of a game. And I asked JB before game 2 because like there's been a lot of talk about the psychological elements that this team had to overcome to really like win at a high level in the regular season. So I kind of asked JB, like, what are those elements you think like not only this team, but like teams in general have to learn when you do win in the playoffs, or like, how to win. And like one thing he talked about was all of the distractions that come with the postseason. Like, I don't think, like a whole lot of us necessarily think about like all like whenever like you do have home games in the postseason, you have family, you have friends, you have people that want to come in town. People are a lot more excited, like the hype and the attention on social media is like a whole different level. And I think, for some of these guys, especially the guys who are really young in this team, I think those are things that like just are extra distractions and take away from like the basketball element. He also talked about how like the weight of what these games mean. Like people like get distracted by like the nerves that come with that, when at their core, they just have to focus on playing basketball. They have to focus on winning basketball games. And I think there's like one thing about the road that does kind of make things a little bit more simpler, is that you don't really have the capacity to invite people out. You don't have a pad that people are going to be coming to crash at. So it's like, it's essentially you really are just with your team focusing on the games ahead of you. So in a way, for these younger guys, being on the road like might almost be an advantage in that way.
yeah, I think it's definitely an advantage for the Pistons, not so much the Magic, because I think more of the I think I said it with the on the podcast with you and Kool-Aid and everyone else on there. Like, I feel like the Magic have way more pressure on them, organizationally than the Pistons do, and that might actually kind of sound like crazy for me to say, but like Jamal Mosley gets bounced in the first round, and we've just seen one of the coaches they might have been interested in, Taylor Jenkins, just get a job in Milwaukee. Like,
Yeah, Billy Donovan's like apparently like looking at house listings the way people are reporting it. Like, it's like not obvious, not literally looking at house listings, but people are like, yeah, that might be a Billy Donovan spot. Like, it is very transparent that like, hey, Jamal Mosley, do well this postseason or you're not gonna have a job. That is pretty significant pressure.
yeah,
You have
like
Charlie Villanueva saying, hey, Paulo, thanks, but you're gonna be in Milwaukee.
yeah, I mean, there's been so much nasty discourse this NBA season with not only the Orlando Magic, but the Detroit Pistons as well. But I do agree with you. I think it is going to be a 6-game series. I think it's going to be a series that isn't going to be easily won.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to be very interested to see, like, can the Pistons replicate that third quarter for a full 48? Because if they can, no contest whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's that defense is insane. I'd love to be a fly on the wall during half times. I don't know about you, because that halftime almost reminded me of the Atlanta Hawks halftime when they came back 20 and almost won the game. Like,
Yep.
it was insane, man. Like, I don't know what is said. I don't know if they're drinking Michael Jordan's secret stuff back there, but it's like, man, like, this is the way that they came out. Like, when it was an 8-0 run, I was like, oh, cool. And then it's like broadcast a 23-3 run, like 36-4. I was like, what? Holy, I'm just watching. I don't even like realize like Orlando had only scored like 4 points within like the first like 7 minutes of that quarter. Like, absolutely insane.
Yeah, JB does a really good job a lot of times. He's done it a lot of times throughout the season where he knows exactly what to say and when to say it. And he was very calm coming into this game, but I think like at a certain point, like 6 quarters in, it's like enough's enough, man. Like, something's got to change here. And yeah, I like it's just like clearly whatever he said and like in the way that they responded was just, I mean, utter insanity. I mean, the fact like a 30-3 run at a playoff game is just unheard of.
Did you see the memes like at halftime that some people are like posting? or like after the third quarter was over. I think it's like an old like Premier League soccer coach, and he's like going around the locker room, just like smacking them all in the face. I was like, man, like I don't know if it's like that violent or anything like that, but like it just kind of makes you chuckle. But like, yeah, what the hell was said? Like,
it is the metaphorical version of that meme. Is essentially what the halftime had to be.
yeah, man, it's honestly great to see that they're responding like the way that they did respond. But I
Yeah.
mean, I would be lying to you if I said scrolling the timeline and just seeing some of the stuff that fans say. Like I thought expectations were high during the regular season when we did podcasts. Like it's like an all-time like just insane conversation right now. Like
Yeah.
people are like, yeah, finals are busts on national TV. I'm like, what?
Right. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I've even heard people say, like, if they're not in the conference finals this year, this season's a failure. And I'm like, well, hold on here. Like, I
Time
mean,
out.
like, yeah, exactly. It's like I think a lot of times, especially in the NBA, we forget that that these teams truly do build incrementally, right? And the ones that do like get to the conference finals or the finals so quickly, those are the teams that are defying expectations and are like the teams that are the exception and not the rule. Right. Like
Yeah,
with Boston, with Jason Tatum getting them to the conference finals his rookie year. That's just not supposed to happen. That just
no.
doesn't happen. Even the Thunder, like it took them a couple years with this group they have now to learn to advance and learn to win in the postseason. So, to me, it's like what I think this season was a disappointment if they didn't make it out of this round, 100%. But from what we've seen thus far this round, Anthony, would you really be surprised if this team struggled to get over a Cleveland with some of the shot creation that they have? Like if we're putting regular season standings aside, if we're just looking at the two rosters as constructed right now, how they're playing. Now, granted, Cleveland has the old we're playing Toronto buff that's going for them right now. I know game 3 they lost in Toronto, but I'm going to bet that the Raptors aren't going to go 8 for 9 from 3 for a quarter again and say that series is probably going to end in 5. So let's just assume it would be the Cavs next round. Would it really be a massive disappointment if they lost to the only team in the second apron in the league who like talk about organizational pressure? It's like, hey, if we don't get it done now, then when?
Yeah, that would be like if Dan Gilbert fired JB Bickerstaff and then the Pistons just go in there and just bully them and get it to the Eastern Conference Finals. Kenny Atkinson's seat's gonna get pretty hot. I felt like it was pretty hot when the Cavs were kind of like floating into like that play-in
Mm-hmm.
territory earlier this season because they had so many injuries. But yeah, man, like if they get bounced by Cleveland, like I wouldn't really see this season as a failure because they have star power in James Harden and Donovan Mitchell, and they have good spacing around them. Like, I know we're kind of projecting out a little bit, but like I just think sometimes the expectations. I'm just enjoying the ride. Like I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm not trying to, go too far down the line. But like if they, I hope they get out of the first round. If they do, I'll be extremely happy and just kind of just take it game by game instead of this kind of seeing if they're going to be the team in the finals that might see the Thunder or whoever makes it out of the West, which it's probably going to be the Thunder. But you never know. It's still really early on in the playoffs, but. Expectations this year have been very I think fun to see from a
Right.
fan perspective because I remember when we were doing shows in the summer, like expectations were very, very low. They're
Yeah.
like, if you can make it as a top 4 seed, I'm happy. I don't think anyone
Yeah.
saw like, 60 wins, first seed, breaking so many records this year, having the number 2 defense all year. I don't think anyone saw this coming whatsoever.
Not at all. And I mean, especially the elevated play with this rock. Like if you did go, hey, the Pistons are a 60-win team, it'd be like, who they trade for? It's like, yeah, it's like, when did we get Giannis? And it's like, no, that didn't happen. They got Kevin Herter. So practically Giannis, but no, in all seriousness, it's like if there's anything that the playoffs do, it truly shines a light on what you need and like who's truly ready to produce, because it's like it really grounds you in like certain conversations of like, I think this postseason thus far, for one, I think it's been a good reminder of why they didn't trade Tobias Harris, because of even if like the shooting hasn't been the greatest, everything else he's done, and even like the scoring that he has provided, like he has been a real source of stability for this team thus far. I think this also is like kind of like, again, not to react too early, but it's like I think with Jalen Duren, it kind of brings some of those contract talks down to earth a little bit. And like, like it kind of changes your, like your perspective and how those conversations can go in the summer. But like, then you look at guys, like for me, it's like game two, something we haven't talked about yet. And something that I think is like a true testament of like, oh yeah, no, this is why this guy's the heart and soul of the Pistons. It's Isaiah Stewart. It's the fact that
Yeah.
like game two was the first time in Isaiah Stewart's career that he got to have like his playoff moment. And he was incredible in that third quarter. And like the shot blocking that was on display, meeting Paolo at the rim and just absolutely stuffing him on a block. Like some of the offensive plays that he was making, like Beef Stew was legitimately incredible in game two. And it's like like people who are like, oh, well, maybe we could, like trade Isaiah Stewart. It's like games like that where it's like, no, that's why you never let that happen.
Yeah, the all he does is fight or trade Isaiah Stewart conversations. I just kind of roll my eyes at, because it's like you have him on a mid-level exception, essentially. He's one of
Yep.
the best rim protectors off the bench. Off the bench, you
Yep.
guys. And to me, he's made for playoff basketball. He's a playoff riser. I mean, if I was JB, like I don't know, man. Like I would try to like get his minutes closer to 30 minutes a game, because like I just love the defense, the communication, and you just see how much quicker he is to reacting. Just guarding like a Jalen Suggs on the perimeter, or switching or communicating backdoor, or just anticipating a block. And this the rim protection is just elite when he's out there.
He's a lot more decisive right now than Duran is. I think you can kind of see Duran thinking the game a lot. And I think Isaiah Stewart, it's like he knows exactly who he is on the court, knows exactly
Yeah.
where he can affect games. And it's like Duran, I think like this is, and again, I'm not trying to like trash on Jalen Duran right now and say like, oh, he sucks, he's terrible, because I've been like one of the champions of he should have been like most improved player this year. Sorry, Nikhil Alexander Walker, but like I think this is like a real like like this is like a real like learning lesson of like this is what it looks like being on the top of the scouting report in the postseason. It's a different
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, it's funny because like the next segment I wanted to get into was actually Jalen Duren, because I did want to get your thoughts on just his playoffs so far. I know
Oh, I'm
we
so sorry. Oh
oh,
no.
no, it's a I think we could have a more in-depth conversation
Yeah.
with this, but like I said, he has had 2 playoffs with the Knicks and then with, the Magic so far, where this is just my point of view, and you can maybe tell me if I'm wrong. I feel like he is not anticipating teams to scout him the way that they're scouting him. At the first game, when they packed the paint, they were scratching at him, getting the ball loose. I think he was really just shocked that he was
Mhm.
getting that much attention, because Cade usually gets the triple teams. Cade usually gets the trying to trap him in half court. But this year, they're like, we can kind of live with Cade with the ball in his hands. Like if we take away his lob threat, we take away this 18 points a game, because we know Wendell Carter can't really match him, for physicality. Um, it's been very interesting to see how he has reacted. I personally think if he's not going to score, I've seen him at least play make a little bit. But
Yep.
I mean, I know we've talked about him not kind of like living up to playoff expectations so far, but I mean, like, do you think it's more of a mental thing with him, or do you think it's just maybe he's going through something? I know some people had kind of mentioned, late in the season he did have some injuries, but I mean, what do you think's going on with him from your eyes?
I think a lot of it is mental. I think a lot of it's upstairs. Just for one, I think he's just getting like, learning how to operate in a paint that's as packed as it is with guys who are as physical and as long as they are is just something that is difficult to navigate, especially when that's where he gets his bread and butter.
Mhm.
Um, uh, some of the like the crossover stuff, some of like the ball handling, we've seen him go at it and try to attempt it at points. And there was like a point where Wendell Carter just, like he took the cookie out of the cookie jar so cleanly and effortlessly. And Duren, like he almost had like a look of like, oh, I'm not I'm not used to guys doing that very much throughout the year. And I think some of it is again just like the pressure and some of like the weight of the moment kind of coming in. But I do think some of it, I mean, it's impossible to ignore like all the noise that's around the matchup there with Wendell Carter Jr. and everything like that. I'm sure that's hard to not, like mess with his psyche a little bit.
Mhm.
But again, I think a lot of it is learning how to play with this level of attention. And it's like this is where it's like you talk about, all right, well, where does Jalen Duren need to like grow in his game? It's like this is why like if he is going to be like this level of like creator, that's why it's going to be so important for him to get the mid-range shot going. And this is why it's going to be so important for him to be able to expand his game that much more because like this has essentially been, kind of like a 2 or 3 move, arsenal for him the way he's been getting to the basket and getting his shot. And, that's only going to get you so far when, teams have some very deployable coverages and schemes to make you uncomfortable. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing. So I'm not saying that like Duren's going to have to be shipped to a new team this summer or that like they're going to have to rethink like where he's at in the core, but it is like this is kind of a wake up call of like, all right, there are some pretty tangible areas here where it's like, we know what you got to work on this summer.
Yeah, I mean, I know he's not a finished product whatsoever. I
Right.
think there's a lot of areas for him to grow. I see people in the comment section saying he needs a post move so he can beat the doubles for sure. I know we have talked about him developing just like a good 12 to 15-foot elbow jump shot. I think all of those things could definitely help his game, but I also have kind of noticed like he was so routinely, like, just getting to his spots in the regular season where he loves to go right, he loves just to put his shoulder down and just try to get some contact, get to the free throw line, or, just score easily.
Yep.
I think there's been a lot of, plays because I watched back the game, game 1 and game 2. I see some areas for like, there's some, backdoor cuts that Assar was trying to, go, but it was a turnover. You see Tobias wide open in the corner from three. Like, I don't really need him to average 30 or 25 in this series. I just need him to stay under control, stay poised, and make those reads. I don't expect him to make every single read, but I think the one thing that I don't want to see it I don't wanna see you bring the ball up the court and dribble it off Wendell Carter's foot anymore. Like, just give it to Assar, give it to Cade. If they're gonna bring the ball up the court, if they're being doubled, like, try to pass to someone that can handle the ball a little bit better. Like, stuff like that, I think, we can just kind of just not see, hopefully,
Yeah.
anymore. But other than that, I mean, I don't really think he's been like unplayable, but I think there are moments where I'd like to see the energy a little bit more. I mean, he's been like kind of up and down with the rim protection, up and down in the pick and roll, defensive coverage. Seems like he's just kind of like a step slow to
Yep.
everything. So I'm hoping he can come out in game 3 and just kind of shake off all those nerves, or like you mentioned, it could just be a mental thing right now of him trying to adjust for these big moments. But I think he's been a talking point with a lot of people here.
Yeah, and I think some of it, like kind of like you said too earlier, of like just the hesitation piece of sometimes just being a step slow defensively because he's trying to think of all the different possibilities of what can happen there. Like offensively, like it's taking up time, trying to look at what avenues he can potentially like attack. And by the time he does, like it's either like causing a turnover or just not the look that it looked like it was going to be. I think another thing too that like just kind of underrated is you have guys like Jalen Suggs who are just denying those easy lobs to him at the rim and are just like, he's like, like the fact that he used to be a football player has been on full display because he's like there's been points where he looks like Ed Reed like in the
Yeah.
open field, like deflecting or picking off, like go balls. It's insane. So I think it's just Orlando's done such a good job of taking away the easy ones from JD, which were such a big part of his offense, that he's really having to earn every bit of it in a way that he hasn't before. And it's like flat out, it's like some of it is just like you just need more than 4 shots in a game. Like,
Yeah.
flat out. He had as many shots in the first half of last game as he did all of game one. So, I think it's just like being more assertive, but also at the same time, it's like don't have to go, and this is just a team thing in general. Don't have to go for the home run ball every time either. It's like you just
Yeah.
like Jared Jack even like said like in the halftime one of the games, like we just got to hit singles right now. We just got to get guys on base.
Yeah, I think Assar said something after game one, which I really appreciated. He's just like, we just need to take it possession by possession, not try to have a 10-point possession, which
Yep.
I think is so smart. And like just the way he kind of just analyzes the first game, it's just like they were just trying to play catch up.
Yep.
All of them were. But I mean, it just kind of shows you like who are the playoff risers and who maybe aren't ready for the moment. Not saying that I don't think Jalen Duren's not ready for the moment. I just think he's struggling right now. I think you saw a little bit in the second half of him starting to get a little bit more confident getting to his spots. And, Cade was looking for him to, set up, which in game three, it'll be interesting to see how this whole team kind of just comes up. I did kind of want to touch on the Jalen Duren conversation. For a little bit. There's another player that I think a lot of Pistons fans have been talking about as well is Danish Jenkins.
Uh-huh.
What has kind of been this like your overall thoughts just with like obviously he did share a lot of backcourt minutes with Cade Cunningham. He's been kind of the backup guard, but what are your just thoughts, I guess, with just his minutes and just his playoffs so far?
Yeah, obviously it's been a little bit of a rough go for him, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think game one, I think a lot of the frustration really, I don't even know if it's the fact that Danis was on the court or that he was on the court over Assar. And like some of the questions there, just because of how, like Assar is just one of the best perimeter defenders in the league, someone that, is just such a plus for the team. I definitely think that, I do think some of it is the fact that, like truly his first lick of the postseason and getting a sense of what it's like, has kind of been, like hasn't always been like consistent ups throughout the year. It's kind of been up and downs. And like there's also kind of a sense of like you've kind of seen that he's had to learn how to play alongside of Cade Cunningham because you've seen his production kind of ebb and flow based on, like who's in and out of the lineup, right? And it's like I think some of it is, like Danis is having to learn how to get his rhythm going in these shorter bursts or when he's coming into a game, not quite as warm. But I think, also it's just the size and the physicality that Orlando like represents. Like that's a difficult matchup for any guard. And I think like Jenkins is just kind of like when you're going up against like a Jalen Suggs and a Desmond Bain and like Tristan Da Silva, like they just have a lot of guys with like big bodies who present problems for guards. And so I think, like I think there might have been possessions where he was maybe kind of trying to like force things and get some things going because he is just such an aggressive player and he does want to go out and make like, and make positive plays. But yeah, it's definitely been a little bit of a rough go. Not just for him, but like really just kind of the entire Pistons, bench unit thus far, just from an offensive perspective. There's been some good defensive plays. There's been some, like moments where guys have stepped up and done some productive stuff. But, Jenkins has kind of been like a microcosm of the entire second unit thus far, where it's like, it's just not quite where you need it to be if this team does want to play as deep into the postseason as people have talked about.
I'm glad you said that because like I've been trying to just kind of like pinpoint like what has been going on with his production because you said like, when Cade was out, like his production was great. He was getting those first touches, he was getting, you know, good 10 to 12 shots a night. And now he's kind of have to going back to his old role of like being the backup point guard and playing second fiddle to Cade when he's out there. I think it's such an adjustment period though for him from going from playing 35 minutes a night to maybe playing like 15 to 16.
Mm-hmm.
Um and it's just a thing where it's like I don't think he's a bad basketball player. I think he's
Not at
just
all.
trying to adjust on the fly of like, okay, they need a secondary ball handler out here. How can I kind of fit my game? And I remember talking with Koo this week about it. He's just like, yeah, he's like, they live and die with him because he's been such a good 3-point shooter. But when he's not hitting those 3-point shots, it's just really glaring of like what he's not doing on the court, which um I'd like to see him pass a little bit more. Just a little nitpicky by me. Like I kind of just like lose my mind when I just kind of see him over dribbling a little bit, especially late in like game clock or shot clocks. Like I'd like to see him move the ball a little bit more because I know
Mhm.
he's capable of passing it. But overall, I think him and Duren have been like the two biggest talking points that I've seen. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I think some of that over dribbling is where you're kind of seeing him still adjust to the speed of the game and just, like not only the speed of the players, but also just how much less time you really have to work with on the shot clock and how quickly that goes down. And to your point, like, like I think it's just being more like judicious with the shot selection. Like sometimes like he's talked about like, teams will like gladly give you that mid-range shot, and if he can hit it at a high level, then like go ahead and take it. If he's feeling good and he's already hit some shots, and like yeah, absolutely go for it. But like when you're talking about being in those quick bursts, when like we already talked about, it's like if you're already struggling with the 3-point shot, analytically we already know that the mid-range shot isn't considered the most efficient shot. If you're not like a Cade Cunningham, maybe you shouldn't be taking it like at like a higher volume. Like if it's like the regular season and you're starting for him, it's like a little bit different. But I think this is something we see with like a lot of role players and like people talk about. It's like it's one thing when you've been a starter all your life and you have the ability to adjust in the flow of the game. It's another thing when you're like in these like quick bursts and it's like, oh, you have to find your window in this short, like sample of time to really like leave your imprint on the game. And if you just don't have it, especially in the postseason like this, coach might not go back to you for the
Yeah.
rest of the game. And there's like a pressure element that comes with that too. So ultimately, I'm really not too worried because we've seen him, like kind of, like work through some of these things already throughout the season. And like, would you really be surprised if we revisit this in a week and it's like, oh, Danis had like an awesome third quarter or fourth quarter in Orlando? Like he's one of those guys where it's like he could have one of those nights where it's like, oh, there's Danis.
Yeah, like if he like has a quarter like he did against the Cavs this year where he just makes like 5, 6 threes, I think a lot of people would just kind of just flush uh game one and game two completely out of their memory because fans and media in general are very reactionary and in the moment. So if you have a good
What?
right? You would think,
No.
man. Man, the discourse has been so nasty. Like
Yeah,
in
man.
halftime, I'm not gonna name who the reporter was, but I saw a tweet from him and it's like, yeah, if the Pistons lose to the Magic, they're in seriously a lot of trouble and changes need to be made. I'm like, wow, okay.
I have people who like in my comments who are like, JB's not the coach. He's got to go. Clearly can't make playoff adjustments. And it's just, I think people are riding this narrative off of why he was fired in Cleveland, as if people forgot that again, the team they lost to was the Boston Celtics, who won the NBA championship that year. It's like it's just crazy to me. And again, it's like it's just allow this team to play it out, let things develop. It is different being a number one seed when you haven't been here before. It's just, yeah, again, it's,
Yeah.
I know. And I think the other thing too is when it's like the pressure's turned up, but the time between games is longer too, and
Oh
people
yeah.
have more time to talk about it. That just makes things 10 times worse because people are just festering on that loss. So by the time game two came around, people were just sick to their stomachs before tip off. We're like, we're gonna lose by 70. And it's like, no, maybe just let the game happen.
Right. I mean, I can't even listen to like my favorite NBA podcast this week because it's just like I don't agree with like 90% of the things they're saying. It's just like, cause like obviously we watch and see the game differently.
Is it the
Um,
Hoop Collective?
Unfortunately, yes. Unfortunately, yes. I
I
love
love
the
those guys, but yeah, it can be a little hard hearing Tim Bontemps just go, when it comes to the fourth quarter, the Pistons outside of Cade can't get the ball going. They're mad. They're humble. And it's like, it's just, it gets a little old. Again, I hope he doesn't see this. I love Tim Bontemps. It
that was actually a really good Bontemps impression.
was. It kind of was. It was a little scary, but
No, I know this is completely off topic, but I was listening to their podcast that they had this week, and he was very upset that Assar Thompson was a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year, and he thought Rudy Gobert should have made it over him. He's like, Assar should have made it as a finished third place in Defensive Player of the Year. I'm like, no disrespect to Rudy Gobert. Obviously, he's won multiple Defensive Player of the Year, but I feel like sometimes, like, obviously, these media members don't get a chance to watch every team.
yeah.
But, man, you could just go on Data Baller and just see the impact that he has defensively. Like, it's insane, man.
I
It's
think the
insane.
playoffs, if the playoffs have opened anyone's eyes to anything, though, I do think it is Assar Thompson's defense. I'm not sure about you. I have seen the conversation start to pick up a little bit more. I'm not saying people are, like people are talking about it properly. I'm just saying that more people are noticing. Because like during that like third quarter, I saw people going, wait, how is this happening? How are the Pistons holding like the Magic to this few points? And it was kind of like, oh, so this is your first Pistons game or your second Pistons game you've seen all
Right.
season, because this is the kind of stuff they've been doing all year. And yeah, like Rudy has been great defensively, and like I don't want to take anything away from him, but we so naturally reward what comes with the elite rim protectors that like we just and mind you, we haven't adjusted to the fact that this is as perimeter oriented of a game as it's ever been. And Assar's as dominant of a perimeter defender as we've seen in the last 20 years at 22 years old.
Right.
It's
Like,
like, yeah, it's like, again, like there was that stretch in March or in like a 4-game stretch, he had 15 steals and 5 blocks.
yeah, it's insane.
Like he like the things that he does on the perimeter are just unprecedented. And it's like, I look, I get Wemby, like some of the stats on why like he deserved to be the unanimous defensive player of the year. Okay. Like let's just put it on Front Street. He literally held every team in the paint to under 50% offensively. And essentially, anytime he was on the floor, a team's offensive rating was the equivalent of being the Brooklyn Nets this entire season. Okay. So it's like he was doing crazy stuff. But Assar was doing some pretty wild things too. And it was like at the very least on par with when like Marcus Smart won Defensive Player of the Year, like like quite a few years ago. It's like that. It was like that type of like perimeterly like dominant season. And again, it's like it is just one of those things where it does like those moments do just remind you of like, oh, people really just don't know.
Yeah, it. I had tweeted something out before the playoffs started. I think it was like that week before we actually started playing basketball. And I
Yep.
see a lot of the talking heads, talk about the Pistons. And I was just like, I can tell the ones that actually watched this year versus the ones that didn't. Because the ones that didn't kept telling on themselves the way that they were talking about the team. And obviously
Yep.
you're around the team, so you get to see it. Like I remember you asking that question to JB, have you ever seen a defender like Assar at this young of an age? He's like, nope.
Before I could even get to at this age, he just went,
No.
he's like, yeah, like, have you ever seen a defense? He just heard that. He just went, no,
No.
no, I haven't. Flat out.
Yeah, man, it's honestly kind of crazy. I know we kind of went down the rabbit hole, but I heard that today. I was like, bro, there's no way like you're upset that like he got third place. Like,
Oh, but
like what?
also our podcasts together are just one giant rabbit hole. What are you talking? That's all we do is go down rabbit holes. This is
I think
this is what you should expect.
I think that's why people tune in because they never know.
That's
They
true. It's
never
like a box of chocolates,
they never know.
some white chocolates, but
Oh man. Oh man. I gotta say something, but I'm not gonna say it. Oh, We have a segment that is presented by FanDuel because we love the people over there at FanDuel. So, Sean, the NBA playoff odds for tomorrow's game are
Uh-huh.
set at 2.5 points for the Pistons, which this is very surprising because I have been tracking it. So, the Pistons have actually been 8.5 point favorites for the games at home.
Yep.
You got kind of surprised that they have the Magic is only a 2.5 point underdog. There we go. I had to
Mhm.
think about it.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, this kind of tells you that they view this kind of as like a coin toss too. Generally speaking, if the odds are this close, like this is telling you like quite literally anyone could win it based off of
Yeah,
where the
yeah.
series is at. But like it's like it's the wild card of the Pistons being on the road. It's also a super early game. This is gonna be like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, where everything else has been like prime time thus far. There's some variables where I understand why the line is where it is, because not only is this like kind of poised to be a weird game, it's just kind of been a weird series. So if I'm being honest, like I don't bet on basketball, but if I did, I bet I would have a really hard time with this series because it's really hard to peg down.
Yeah, I mean, even the media partners don't know when to schedule the Pistons. Like when I saw that the game was at 1 o'clock tomorrow, I'm like, 1 o'clock. It's not even an NBC, it's a Peacock exclusive game. I was like, damn, like it's kind of wild. But I mean, I was kind of surprised to see that it's only gonna be a 2.5 point game. So that just tells me absolute chaos tomorrow.
Yeah, no, and honestly, like I think that's kind of like I think that's a fair line because it's like even though like I do kind of expect the Pistons, especially as the game goes on, to be better on the road in some aspects. Like I do think it's going to be very similar to like you got to weather the storm of like the first like like the first 6 minutes of the first quarter because like the fans are going to be into it. That crowd's going to be electric, and there's always like an extra bit of energy that the home team gets playing in their arena. I mean, I thought Toronto was going to get swept. And then,
Right.
like all of a sudden they're in Scotiabank Arena and, they shoot the lights ooh to the gym, it just things change.
Yeah, shout the Jameson battle. I mean, Cleveland Cavaliers killer.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's crazy because like watching that, it's like, man, that could have been Javante Porter if he didn't
Yeah.
like one of your sponsors. But anyway,
Love it, love it. I have, 2 more questions I do wanna ask you. So going into game 3, who's going to be your biggest X factor?
hmm, biggest X factor going into game 3. I'm gonna go a little bit of a different. I know we've talked a lot about Danis and Jalen Duren. I think
Mhm.
not kind of like another X factor in this series is Duncan Robinson. Like
Yeah,
like specifically, like a big thing that's kind of like that's been there to watch for him is keeping him on the court because he's been getting hunted on the defensive side. We knew that would be coming with Duncan Robinson. But like he's been getting hunted, which is, forced him to struggle with staying on the court at times. Like game 1, I think some of their struggles in the first half could really be attested to the fact that Duncan wasn't out there for so much of it, which like I mean, it's like, it's very similar to last year where it's like Malik essentially was our 3-point shot creation. Duncan Robinson is essentially this team's 3-point shot creation, So when he is available, when he is out there, obviously this team's just a lot better for it. Even like, I think some like the defensive, like, conversation around him could be a little overblown. I think he's better than people give him credit for. But like, it's just even just having like the calming presence of someone who has so much playoff experience. Like the most on the team probably by far. When you look at like his career with
yeah,
Miami. So I kind of expect Jalen Duren to still be working through some of those struggles. I think like Danis, it's like, like his minutes can kind of come and go, but like if the Pistons want to win this series and want to get deep in the postseason, like they're gonna have to continue not only keep Duncan on the court, but keep him playing well.
yeah, I do agree there. I do have a, X factor as well because I thought he played so well in game 2 and he got more minutes off the bench is Javante Green.
Yep.
I thought he did such a good job defensively, especially against Paulo and then switching and communicating.
Led the
Um,
team in blocks in game
yeah,
2.
I know Ron has kind of struggled a little bit in the playoffs again. Maybe JB looks to lean on Javante with his veteran leadership as well. I to me, like I think he has such an opportunity to be a disruptor in the half court, especially because I know he wants to run out and just dunk every damn ball when he's out there and just create
Mm-hmm.
chaos. But Duncan, I believe, was my X factor when we did a show, I believe, this week
Yep.
earlier because everything you mentioned, like the playoff experience, and I don't know if you caught that sound up bit from him on ESPN about him talking about like, yo, let's move the ball. We have 9 assists at halftime.
Yeah.
And just like, little stuff like that, like just hyping up his teammates, telling them like, let's have fun out there. I think it's really important of being like this kind of a leader and having the most playoff experiences on this entire roster.
He's been incredible for this team all year long. And, again, just with like the spacing things that he brings, but like you said too, just like the leadership, the presence, the smarts, the basketball IQ, just his presence on the court just does mean so much. So it's like he is a guy where it's like if he gets in foul trouble early throughout the series, like that is going to be trouble for them, especially in like a road game where if they're hitting their shots, like we've already seen, with like teams like Charlotte, where it's like if you don't get back into that one quickly, like games can get out of control down there in Orlando.
Yeah, and Orlando fans are very well, I think, still emotionally scarred by Duncan with his time in Miami.
Uh huh.
Uh, when I talked to that Magic podcaster this week, shout to Steven, he's like, "Yeah, man, every time I see him, man, I swear, just PTSD, PTSD."
He was low key a killer back in the day, man, with some of the shots he's hit. Like he's hit some big shots.
Yeah, man, it's especially that bubble run. I don't even know why. Like I went down a rabbit hole a couple of days ago just to watch his bubble run highlights and just some of the threes he was hitting, man. I was like, good lord.
And you could tell
Absolute
he didn't want to release it on half the shots, but it like Spolster would just be like, shoot the ball. And he'd be like, okay. And even he would be shocked it went in.
He's like, oh shit.
Yeah. And like now, like it's kind of full circle on the Pistons because like now it's really fun to watch because you can see the confidence is there. Like he's gonna pull the trigger, and like you could tell mentally that like it doesn't affect him nearly as much. I can't even think of like any major shooting lulls this season from him. Like like there may have been like don't get me wrong, every shooter has like a couple games here and there, but like he's been pretty like remarkably consistent all year long.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he finished the year shooting over 40% from three, which, he's done a couple times in his career, but I can't really think of like him having like such a like maybe a bad week. Maybe he had a bad 3 games in a week, but I mean it didn't last. Like I remember when we signed THJ last year and he started off the season shooting like 60% from three, but he had like a month and a half where he was shooting like 25%. I
Yeah.
can't I can't really think off the top of my head if Duncan has actually had like lows like that this year.
Yeah, I don't think he's had. Tim was so unique though, where it's like you could
Yeah.
almost tell immediately based off of like the first 2 to 3 shots what you were getting from him that night. It's like if he had some ones that like clinked out or were kind of like a little uglier miss, it's like, all right, this is going to be kind of a defensive game for Tim. Whereas like there'd be moments where it's like, oh, he's got it going. Which, by the way, shout out to Tim for being a finalist this year for Sixth Man of the Year. With Denver, I thought there was a real chance he could have won that award. I still think he was probably the best value signing this offseason for
Oh
what he
yeah.
gave them, and I don't think it's close. So, just wanted to give a shout out there because he does deserve credit for how he's done in Orlando this year.
And he gave us probably the best meme of all time.
Oh my gosh, man, incredible, incredible.
I I know it's a funny meme when it gets dropped into my work Slack channel. That's that's how I know it. That's how I know it's funny because I work with a lot of people that are much older than me, and they're like, I said, "Hey, did you finish the project today?" And then like they send me that GIF. I was just like, "Oh, okay, okay,
Uh-huh.
you didn't
Uh-huh.
finish it."
when when it hits with the normies, it's like, oh, all right, this has got a different level.
If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, Tim Hardaway Jr. took a charge, and he was really hyped up that he got the charge, and even someone dubbed Kendrick Lamar's voice screaming "ah" on it, made it 10 times funnier. I was like, "Oh my god, man, I love
That's
the internet."
That's how I envision Eric is going to be if the Hawks win this series. I envision it's going to be a reaction, something like that.
Yeah, we had someone. I think yeah, Morty says Knicks fans having a rough day thus far. 100%, man, 100%. Eric is on his villain arc right now with the New York Knicks.
He sent us a voice memo last night that legitimately sounded so much like a Joker monologue that I put it to the Joker "Why So Serious" sound, and it fit too perfectly. It was terrifying. I'm gonna have to upload that if the Knicks lose this series because it's way too funny. Way
The
too
one
funny.
the one thing that might get released out of our group chat.
The only thing that might get released out of that group chat, 100%.
Yeah, the group chat is wild, man. Sometimes I swear. I
It's,
do. What's that?
I was just gonna say it's a special place, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if that ever gets leaked, we're cooked. um, Hopefully Apple's got their encryption up to date. I have one more topic, just predictions for you. Give me a prediction, Sean. Who's gonna win tomorrow?
You know what? I think Detroit wins tomorrow. I
Okay.
think Orlando has kind of been coming back to reality a little bit with the way that they played in that second half. I just the other thing with that win against Detroit in game one, and even to an extent that win against Charlotte that they had, like in the play-in, Paulo is hitting some crazy shots that I just haven't seen him hit at a consistent mark this season. And like, I know there's been a lot of talk of like Jamal Mosley showed him that footage and like reminded those guys of like who they are and like showed them all their college highlights and everything like that. But like, unfortunately for this team, they don't have a whole lot of footage of that to show in an Orlando Magic uniform, and then especially not from this season. So like, I think ultimately, like people have been coming back and going like, oh, I just like see like the regular season doesn't matter. But like, I think if anything, I think we're seeing that like the habits that you build in the regular season, like who you establish yourself to be, does very much matter, especially with like how like the Knicks series is going, part of like why they're crumbling. Their regular season's been a mess. Turns out they're still a mess in the postseason. Shocker. So I think as the adversity of this series, starts to demand more, I think the Pistons have just shown themselves to be the team that's been built to meet that moment throughout this season. So I expect them to go in tomorrow, and it's like, mate, might not be pretty, but like, is any game this series going to be pretty? No, it's not.
No, I don't think so either. I have the Pistons winning too. I think it's going to be a very up and down game. I don't see a third quarter happening, but I could be wrong. Depends on what the message is at halftime, depending on what the score is at halftime. But
I don't think either team get to 100 again. I think that's for sure.
no, I think it's gonna be a very physical battle. Whoever takes care of rebounding the basketball, I think will win the game.
Mm-hmm.
If you're the Pistons, you can't allow players like Wendell Carter and Goga Batadze just to get those extra possessions. And
Yeah.
like you mentioned, like take care of the basketball too. I know that's easier said than done because Orlando is just so handsy and like this their length. Pause. Um, as a
Damn it,
basketball
Anthony.
team, as a basketball team, um, I think does cause problems with the Pistons in the half court. But if you can control, limiting your turnovers and getting those defensive rebounds, I like their chances a lot.
Yeah, no question. Again, it's not going to be an easy one. Like I still think it's going to probably be pretty close, and I wouldn't be surprised if this one was like single points and comes down to the final few possessions. But like again, even though neither of these teams have been very good in the half court, like offensively, that's the other thing too. It's like if it's like a close game, Cade's clearly shown to have been the best player on the series, like best player in the series all 8 quarters. Like even if the Pistons
Oh
haven't
yeah,
been great, Cade's been great. So like I expect that to continue in Orlando tomorrow.
yeah. It's kind of funny how you mentioned Cade. Like I don't even feel like Cade is like near 100%. I feel like he's still working his way back up to 100%, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
and if that three ball starts falling, like good night, good
He's
night.
he's already in the high 30s average wise without the three falling. It's like he he could legitimately be averaging 40 points a game right now if just a couple threes went.
Yeah, it'll be definitely interesting. I think this is a first round series this year where it's so much different from the Knicks because I think last year I had very low expectations. I just wanted them to like be have fun and have a competitive series. Where this year
Right.
it's just like I think they can beat Orlando. It's not going to be pretty. They're going to feel that first round series probably for a couple of weeks.
Yep.
But I expect them to handle business. And like we talked earlier, this team on the road for whatever reason, they just go in there and just play spoiler.
Yeah, I think they just relish being the ones that are booed, and I think like this is a team that brings them just as much, if not more, energy than the home crowd just going ballistic.
Yeah. That is a interesting question. I don't You could ask Sean that. Should the Pistons move Isaiah Stewart to power forward to guard Paulo Banchero for 20 minutes and play B-ball Paul Reed at backup center? So that's interesting. I don't
It,
know.
it it's interesting, but it's like I think it just gets back to the fact that like if you're putting Isaiah Stewart on Paulo for 20 plus minutes, you're drawing him like farther away from the basket. And that allows teams to like we as we've seen before when Isaiah Stewart's like asked to like be a power forward and be out on the perimeter, that opens up more in the paint for teams to and it's like Duren's become a better helper
Mhm.
defensively, but like I think he's already struggled enough with that in this series to where it's like if he doesn't have to do that, then like maybe not. I also think like Tobias has done better on him defensively than like people have given him credit for. And it's like I think it's just like continuing like I think it's about like continuing to give him like different looks. I don't think it's one of those things where it's like, oh, you just put this one person on him and then he's gonna shut him down. I don't think it's quite that simple. I think it's like I think you rotate whoever, like whoever's guarding him on ball, but then I think you're also like I think it's like kind of similar to Duren, where it's like where you're blitzing and sending help as he's like driving in the interior. It's like trying to make those, like trying to muck up those looks before he gets to the basket because he does have the strength to finish through contact.
Yeah, I think they've done a pretty good job. Like you'd mentioned, Tobias, I feel like for the most part has done a pretty good job. I know they've had Javante on him, Ron Holland in certain situations. They're just giving him different bodies to kind of like go through and just try to limit him because you're not going to completely lock down Paulo Banchero. He's still going to
Right.
get to the free throw line at a really high rate. He's still going to maybe hit some really tough mid-range jump shots, and he's been a playoff riser for Orlando. I mean, you can look at his playoff production, his points per game; they're up there. So
Yep.
if you can limit him, make him take those tough jump shots. Make sure you're not just giving him like gimme fouls so he can get to the free throw line. I think you'll live with it at the end of the day. Like he's the one player that Orlando wants to go through almost every damn possession. So if you can just make his life a living hell and make it difficult for him, I think you're happy with it.
Well, and even through the first few games thus far, he's only shooting 60% from the free throw line this playoffs. So it's like, I mean, I expect that to be better at home. Don't get me wrong. But like this group, it's like, it's almost like a better sign when they are allowing like more free throws because it's like they doubled Orlando in free throws that first game. But part of that's because they weren't bringing the intensity and the physicality that we're used to seeing defensively. Like in a weird way, the high foul count shows that like this team's playing the way they're supposed to be. It's kind of
Yeah,
weird where it's like, oh, good, they're fouling more. It's like it shows they're more active. It's such a weird thing to say, but it's kind of true.
yeah. It's kind of funny because like game one, like we're getting to the free throw line, like you said, and then game two, Orlando just got to the free throw line like crazy, especially in the first quarter. Like I felt like they were at the free throw line every damn possession. But it'll be interesting to see what does happen in game three. I have one question to ask, and we'll wrap this up. Just I know you're an NBA junkie like myself. What's been your favorite moment so far in the playoffs?
Oh man. Honestly, like it's been really fun just seeing like kind of like this CJ McCollum renaissance that's been going on with Atlanta. That entire like the end of those last two Hawks Knicks games have just been incredible theater and just have been really fun to watch. Like
Mhm.
I texted I texted or I mean I tweeted yesterday like text messages I got from my buddy Troy who does the pod with me and it was like it was like Hawks with a crying emoji. But then like all of a sudden the Hawks got the lead again, and like CJ hit that shot, so he said Hawks in all like caps. And then like when they finally won, he said Hawks with like a flex emoji. So just like the tail of that has been really fun. But honestly too, like just seeing this, like just seeing the Denver Minnesota series and like seeing Jaden McDaniels have the gonads to come out and say, yeah, they're all bad defensively. And then for Minnesota to not only like back it up, but like humiliate Denver on both sides of the court. It's just like, I've just been captivated by all the storylines, like not to mention like the Rockets and what's going on with like no Luca, no Austin Reeves, no problem. It's like there are some heads who could roll this summer if things don't go the way that they're supposed to for certain teams. And I got the popcorn ready, man. This has been great.
Yeah, so many people said the first round was going to be boring. I think it's been anything but boring. The Jade McDaniels one is definitely up there for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have one, but this was during the play-in. Never in my life would I be scrolling the timeline seeing that Andre Drummond made more three-pointers in the play-in than Con Knipple. I was like, bro, like when he hit that dagger in the corner, I'm like, dog, like he was practicing those in Detroit for so many years, and he finally hit one.
The meme of Andre whenever he hits a three, and it's Josh Smith and Greg Monroe looking down at him from heaven. Like even Omari tweeted that, was like, this is cracking me up. Like that might be on the Mount Rushmore of like the best Pistons Twitter memes I've ever seen. So Don, shout out to you. Like that, I got almost 30,000 likes, and like that's not enough.
Yeah, like you had to be there. You had to be there if you're a Piston fan watching Mo Cheeks trying to run up Josh Smith, Greg Monroe, and Andre Drummond, and Brandon Jennings and KCP, and thinking you're gonna win some games.
Dude, it's like it sucks because this is where we make the jokes about like players posting workouts on Instagram. And it's like, I remember like 2016, we were like, oh, this is going to be the year where Drummond adds the 3-point shot. And then it's wraps. He did add the 3-point shot just like 10 years too late for the Pistons.
Yeah, like when I saw him shoot, I was like, man, if that goes in and it went in, and then he hit one like late, I was like, oh my God, bro, like what is going on? That was probably my like the play-in tournament too was just like so good, like so
Yeah.
great. I will say if the Rockets get bounced in the first round, and I'm looking what Phoenix is doing with Dylan Brooks and Jalen Green, bro. Like,
Oh,
oh my goodness. Like
oh,
obviously Phoenix is not going to win a first round series against OKC. Like we already know that. But the play-in tournament with Jalen Green, bro, he went berserk.
I'm just telling you right now, if we don't make the conference finals and Houston loses this round, I'm just preparing you, Anthony. Everyone's going to say that the Pistons should trade for Kevin Durant this summer. I'm just preparing you. It's going to be like, well, maybe it would work for Detroit.
Oh man, I'm not going to name.
Face was you realizing I was right. That's what that was.
I already know what the offseason content is going to be like, and I'm probably going to have you on, and we're going to have like a freaking 10-minute monologue about it. But
yeah, we're going to have to be like, no, they're not going to trade for Giannis. No, they're not going to trade for Kevin Durant. Maybe they could trade for Trey Murphy, but no, they're not going to trade for they're not going to trade for Kyrie. Like all that stuff.
Yeah, like game one, I'm not going to name the radio station that said it, but like I see the Michael Porter Jr. supporters come out. Like I was like, yeah, because that's what we need. A guy that doesn't play defense but chucks up like 23s a game. Like, yeah, that's
because
exactly what we need.
The last team that traded multiple first-round picks for a guy who was scoring a lot of points on the Brooklyn Nets is doing really well right now. The Knicks are really happy with that trade.
I saw the funniest meme. It was someone had posted, bend your elbow, have your knee straight, look at the rim, and they tag Mikal Bridges. I was like, dog, like, what are we doing? Oh man, it's crazy, man. I love this time of year. I'm sure you do too. I still remember the podcasts and live streams we were doing with your guy Leggy last year. Those were a lot of fun.
They were
But
fun.
they were
And
fun, man.
part of me was scared for a sec because, like, oh no, the Raptors are actually in the postseason. Like, oh no, they actually might be good. And I saw them the first two games. I'm like, nope, we're good.
I
We're
don't know.
good.
Last game, man. I don't know.
I don't know. Again, they were 8 of 9 from 3 in the fourth quarter. That will never happen again in Raptors franchise history, let alone this series.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, you do have two of the biggest playoff chokers in NBA history, and Donovan Mitchell and James Harden. But hey, anything's possible.
And I mean, honest. Okay, can I say I think Donovan gets maybe a little bit of a bad rap postseason wise. Like I feel like for the most part he's been excellent. Now don't get me wrong, his bubble was incredible, and then like the rest of the postseasons have just like after that have kind of been like trying to live up to that. But like I think in Cleveland it's been like I think like Jared Allen and Evan Mobley have been the problem up to this point. But like I still understand like it is still a disappointment that he's never made it out of the second round. Like that is fair, but like James Harden's the playoff choker. Like let's not mistake it. He's the one that stinks doo doo when it counts.
He has had some good playoff games, but when it's game 7, the lights get a little bit too bright. But
Hey,
we'll have to
yeah,
see,
we'll have
man.
to maybe 17th times the charm.
Maybe. I mean, if Luke Kennard gets to a conference final before Donovan Mitchell, Pistons Twitter is going to have a field day.
I mean, the fact that he was putting out playoff performances like he's been, it's like it turns out maybe for him to become the JJ Redick that we all thought he could be, he just needed JJ Redick as his coach.
Bro, he's been going insane. And they're like,
Like
yeah,
it's
Austin
like
Reeves is
Luka with
questionable.
Obi-Wan.
He's like, Austin Reeves is questionable. I was like, do you really need Austin Reeves? You got Luke Kennard. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, we have Austin Reeves at home. You got Luke Kennard. What are you talking about?
Yeah, man. The playoffs have been so much fun, but I'll
Yeah.
be paying attention to that Rocket series. Like, if they get bounced without Luca or Austin Reeves, Houston is already in like shambles, man. Like I follow
Yeah.
some Houston guys, man. Like they're going back like one pick away from Cade, man. What the hell? Like, it's screwed. I was like, yeah, it's not like all the ping pong balls and all the lottery luck that you guys have had. You're complaining about freaking lottery picks right now.
Yep. And I mean, a lot of those guys, they would trade Alperen Şengün for a 3/4 eaten sleeve of Chips Ahoy cookies.
How did we forget about LP Sengun? The memes.
It's a great question. A great
Oh,
question.
I'm not even gonna talk about it because I'll probably get my YouTube channel canceled. This will be like a off the podcast type of conversation that Sean and I are
Mm-hmm.
probably gonna have after. But I appreciate you guys tapping on in for the last hour. Sean, where can people find you and support you during the NBA playoffs, man?
Yeah, you can head on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast to From Half Court. So we're going to be uploading any of the content, but also be sure to go to Twitter at Sean Half Court. That's you'll catch any post game, pre game stuff, as well as live reactions and reacting to all the latest news. So, Anthony, thanks for having me on, man. Would love to do it again here at some point in the postseason. And yeah, I'm sure we're going to have to be coming on here and being the bad cops of Pistons of this Piston space in the off season again. Looking forward to it.
Definitely. We always love to just pop bubbles of Pistons fans like, whoa, if we do this 15-team trade,
Uh-huh.
we can actually get LeBron and Giannis and KD all on the same team. Well, look at my trade machine. But
Well, actually, if they trade LeBron for Bismack Biyombo, that would open up opportunities for the Pistons to go. It's like, I hate to break it to you, not happening.
yeah, I don't miss the trade machine off season stuff whatsoever. I'm kind of glad it's over, but
I, I
we will.
I went back real quick before you like I went back and looked at like some of like my tweets back in the day of like lineups I was like clamoring for, and it's like before the 2020 draft, I tweeted something of like, could you imagine if the Pistons end up with LaMelo Ball and Christian Wood? That would be a problem. And I'm like, now I'm like, Sean, you know so much better than that.
Oh, Christian Wood, that's a throwback name I haven't not heard in quite a bit. But yeah, we're gonna see you guys tomorrow. We're gonna be doing our post-game show immediately after the Pistons play the Magic for game 3. Probably be around like 3 or 4, just depending on how the game goes, depending if it's an overtime game, hopefully not. But hope you guys do have a great start to your weekend since it is Friday. As always, go Pistons. Peace.